Good evening and welcome to the 2021 virtual installment of the Idea Awards. Created by the Brett Adams and Paul Reich Foundation, the Idea Awards empower artists to produce idea-driven work that illuminates the human condition and engages in the wider conversation about the role of art in civilization. Our awards are called the Idea Awards because we fund big theatrical ideas. Though our group of winners this year are diverse in form and substance, they share a common language, that of ideas. Tonight, we will honor and award artists whose work we hope will foster conversation outside of the theater. The Brett Adams and Paul Reich Foundation is thrilled to celebrate this year's 9 awardees: Adana, Troy Anthony, Agyeiwaa Asante, Kirsten Childs, Jessica Hagedorn, Haruna Lee, Cherríe Moraga, Zeniba Now, and OyamO. And now please give a warm welcome to the host of the 2021 Idea Awards, Tony nominee, Broadway veteran and writer, Daniel J. Watts.
Good evening all and welcome to the 2021 Idea Awards. As we start, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that while we are gathering in the cloud, the Brett Adams and Paul Reich Foundation is located on unceded indigenous land, specifically the homeland of the Lenape people. We honor with gratitude the stewards of this land and ask you to join us in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders past and present, as well as future generations. Please join us in honoring the land you're watching from in the chat. I'm currently in Scottsdale, Arizona, so I am on the land of the Hopi people. Speaking of me, my name is Daniel J. Watts, and I am thrilled to be hosting a ceremony that celebrates the work of tomorrow, champions artists, and does not shy away from controversy, and believes there is no concept or idea too big or too complex to present. To create a work of art, an artist needs freedom of thought to formulate an idea. That idea needs time to germinate and grow. Through financial grants, the Brett Adams and Paul Reich Foundation supports worthy theater artists at any stage in their career in one of 3 award categories. First, the Ollie Award, intended for an early career playwright to write a hugely ambitious new play. Next, the Tooth of Time Award, honoring theater artists who have had a substantial and important career of idea-driven works. And finally, the Vivace Award, bestowed upon a musical theater artist or team to create a new idea-driven piece. Now, before we get to giving out awards, we'd like to take a time to recognize the work and love of theater from the 2 men without whom we would not be here today. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Sheila Ray, a proud board member of the Brett and Paul Foundation. Brett Adams was a theatrical agent who shepherded the careers of many actors, writers, directors, designers, and including, but not limited to, Felicia Rashad, Judy Kay, Kathleen Marshall, Andre DeShields, Kathy Bates, and, very luckily, me. Both Brett and his partner, Dr. Paul Reich, became close friends of mine over the years. After Brett and Paul passed, we created this foundation at their bequest. My fondest memory of Brett is the way he gave a hug.
I'm Bruce Osler, and Brett was my longtime business partner, mentor, and best friend. Our Tooth of Time Award winners have devoted their lives to the craft of theater and accomplished the feat of longevity. Our Ollie Award winners are pushing boundaries in the world of new plays, and our Vivace awardees tell new stories through music that makes us want to get up and dance. And we are inspired by these artists who challenge our theatrical assumptions.
In 2019, the foundation gave out $100,000 in awards to 4 people. In March of 2020, facing the pandemic, we rallied to the needs of the artists of the theatrical community by giving $200,000 in emergency grants in partnership with the Venturous Theater Fund of the Tides Foundation and New Dramatists. For 2021, we are awarding 9 writers $200,000, and further allocating $100,000 for the development of these awarded projects. And this has all been helmed by Terry Bernstein, Brett and Paul's longtime personal accountant for decades.
I'm Kate Bussert, and I am the Executive Director. We hope this commitment will inspire artists and institutions alike to lead boldly and take brave chances as our community steps back into the theater. We hope embracing great diversity within this shared language of ideas will open doors for artists with fresh perspectives, particularly those from underrepresented communities, to create idea-driven new plays and musicals reflecting on universal themes. And finally, thank you to all of the leaders who serve on our advisory boards for the deep thoughtfulness and immense creativity you brought to this year's selection process. It is an honor and a privilege to work alongside you as you inspire, ignite, and foster the work of tomorrow. For more information on us, please visit us online at brettandpaulfoundation.org.
See, this makes me very proud to be a part of a program that celebrates the resilience of our community. So thank you all of you for showing up to support these artists or to get to know them for the first time. Now, this year, the Idea Awards is foregoing the traditional acceptance speeches to focus more deeply on the writers and their ideas. Each winner has chosen a colleague to have a short artist-to-artist interview, which will give us all a peek into their process and the great work they have coming down the pike. Of course, we'll also have some music from our Musical Theater Award winners, but above all, we want you to jump in, hang out, get in the live chat and have fun with these ideas along with us. Now, let's start off with a song from one of our Vivace Musical Theater Award winners, Obie Award-winning writer, composer, and lyricist, Kirsten Childs.
His old man Patterson shot that rascal before he could set foot off that plantation.
Ain't true. No, let me pass, mister. I'm telling you, I will.
And who's gonna believe your tragic tale?
I will.
Who said that?
It is I, your ancestor, the itty-bitty gal, on a ship of misery from far across the sea. I have come to tell you that man is talking out of his ass. And now it's time for you to talk out of yours.
What is that sound? Murmuring soft hello.
It's Bella's ass, and it's about to show.
Kirsten.
Hi, Awoye. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
Likewise. So good to see you.
Well, I'm really very excited that we get to have this time today to talk a little bit about you and talk about your work. So I wanted to ask about this piece, The Family Chronicles. Can you talk us through the evolution of the piece, how it came to be?
Yes. So I had a story that I did for Playwrights Horizons. It was a radio play. It was a musical, and it was concerning my grandmother. And my mother told me this tale. She would tell this story over and over and over again. It had to do with my grandmother who loved soaps. But one day she went downtown in the all-white section of the shopping place in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she realized that she was going to miss her soap. And she was so freaked out. She missed her bus to get home, and she was so freaked out that she started walking in the white neighborhood, which was pretty dangerous. But she heard these strains of the overture to the soap, and she went to this random white lady's house and knocked on the door, but she pounded on the door because she was like, I got to see my soap, The Edge of Night. And the lady opened the door. She looked at my grandmother. She looked back at the TV. And you have to understand, white people in that area did not mix with Black people. But she looked at my grandmother. She looked at the TV. And without any words, she opened the door. My grandmother went in. They watched the show, never speaking to each other. And then at the end, my grandmother nodded her thanks and left. And that story to me when I was little was so amazing that somehow I knew someday I had to, bear witness to it in my work. And so that particular story was the one that I chose to do for Playwrights Horizons. Well, fade in, fade out. And the person that happened to direct the show that I wrote was you, Awoye.
That was me.
It was yes, it was you. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful collaboration. I was very excited to work with you because you just know everything so that there is. It was such an enjoyable experience. You need to know, and if you don't know, you find out, and everything is wonderful. And later on, I ran into you, and you were like, there are people who were really interested in that story. And I'd also, received a lot of feedback about how, there are a lot of African-American people, and I'm sure there are people from other ethnicities, but definitely a lot of African-American people who had relatives who were like wildly, fanatic about the soaps. And so it struck a chord with a lot of people. And so you suggested maybe even exploring more of those kinds of stories. And I was like, yeah, I want to talk about stories about people of color that are, just sort of interesting stories that don't have to do, they can, but they don't have to do with tragedy or, horrific things that happen or expected things that are already in the canon of Black experience in, the world. And so I thought, so you suggested maybe even exploring some more. And I thought, yes, that sounds great, especially if I can do that with you on board. So, yeah, so now I'm, embarking on writing some new work for the Vineyard, for my Family Chronicles, talking about, different experiences that I experienced in my life, and in some way, hopefully other people will have some kind of familiar feeling for those types of events.
It's so exciting. It's going to be beautiful and amazing, whatever it is. I know that for sure. I wanted to ask you before we go, this congratulations. This is so wonderful and amazing. And this idea is, this award is about ideas. Is there, in your mind, a big idea that connects your work, your different plays? Is there a thing that you're looking at or searching for in the pieces that you're writing?
We'll see. My idea has actually always been to invite people to the party that I wanted to be involved in, and that party includes music and dance and acting and being in the audience and just the theater of life. So that's my big idea, to invite everyone to the party.
Well, we feel it. We feel welcome to it. We're ready to party with you. It's all amazing. Thank you for creating that space and creating this work. It's so amazing. And I'm just so happy for you. Congratulations. And we will talk soon.
We sure will. Very, very soon. And so thank you so much for all you've done. And I am so thrilled to be a recipient of this incredible award. I have no words to express how happy and honored and humbled I am.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten and Awoye, for that exhilarating conversation. See, I love to see artists of color creating and celebrating other fellow artists of color. It's great. I'm not going to get into that right now. Next, we have Tooth of Time winner Jessica Hagedorn, a celebrated playwright, novelist, and poet who has had plays produced on both the East and West Coast. Her work pushes the envelope on how Filipino stories are told. She and her friend, collaborator, Obie Award winner, and Tony Award nominee, Michael Greif, love the guy, gathered to form a retrospective discussion about her body of work. Now, this will be followed by a conversation between one of this year's Ollie Award winners, Agyeiwaa Asante, a Ghanaian-American theater artist bringing ideas from the page to the stage about immigration from a completely different perspective, and last year's Ollie Award winner, the vibrant Dave Harris. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Michael Greif, and I've been a friend and a colleague and a frequent collaborator of Jessica's for about 30 years. Jessica, I want to congratulate you on this Tooth of Time Distinguished Career Award, which celebrates a playwright's significant idea-driven body of work. And I want to compliment whoever nominated you and gave you this very, very well-deserved award.
Thank you, Michael. I'm so happy to be talking with you.
I feel like we're going to take advantage and actually get into talk about some things that we don't get to talk about, especially some projects that happened before I got to know you that I'm particularly fascinated by.
Well, it all started, I think in my sort of remarkable childhood in the Philippines, where music played a very big part in our lives, my family's lives, all kinds of music. In the house I grew up in, I was very fortunate to have a family that was interested in and was passionate about music, and whenever the opportunity arose, taking me and my brothers as children to see any kind of performance that happened to be available in Manila. So I grew up with this kind of assumption that the arts were always available to me, and which was a ridiculous assumption, but I was an innocent child and I was immediately captivated. I also had a family of very good storytellers, just naturally. So the music, the storytelling, it all made me want to be a writer and a performer and a dance, anything, And when I came as a immigrant writer, very young teenager, to San Francisco, I was very fortunate, I think, again. It was just the luck of the draw that my mother chose San Francisco as our sort of landing place in the United States. And at the time, it was going through much, much strife, but also a real creative explosion in the arts. And because I was so naive and really we knew no one, I just was curious about everything. And my way out of isolation was to write. In my journal. I had spent 2 years at ACT in San Francisco, which was the American Conservatory Theater, and it was the acting program. And it was a rude awakening. I'd get sent out on auditions as an actor and invariably would get turned down. And then except for one where they wanted me to say "yellow power" was my only line. And I started sort of going, what is this about? And why don't I just put my energy into writing roles that don't exist right now? Right. So that was again in the 70s. And I always had that in the back of my head, that it wasn't just about me performing solo work or my own autobiographical performance work, but writing for actors was very exciting to me because telling other people's stories. And yes, I did start writing plays, but you know, the novel was always something I wanted to do.
And again, it sounds like the thread is you're particularly invested in telling stories that haven't been told before.
Yes.
By people who don't always get the opportunity to tell those stories.
Yes.
What kind of advice or what kind of inspirational words can you give to some emerging young playwrights?
Oh, yes. To be fearless, and you don't need an MFA program. You can
a very fine teacher. I should say that.
You need mentors, and you need curiosity.
And you can find those mentors in a whole lot of different places.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Wonderful. It's a thrill to talk to you as always.
It's a thrill to talk to you, Michael.
Seeing you in person. Very, very
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for this.
Thanks, everybody.
What up? We're here.
We're here. We're doing it. How are you?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So you just won a big ass award.
That's so wild to me that people can just believe in you like that, just see your potential and be like, you can do the thing. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was so used to, you know, as a playwright, my first thought was like, okay, my first focus, like when I first starting out, was writing the producible play. So I was like, okay, we have one location, 4 actors, maybe then someone will put this in a black box and I can be produced. So that was always like my mindset about the plays that I was writing, the stories I was telling. So finally getting an opportunity where someone's like, what is your wildest imagination, your biggest dream? I was like, oh, I have not really taken the time to really consider what that is and what I would want to do with that. And it was really gratifying that I could just actually remember the creative aspect of, you know, what it means to be an artist, what it means to write, and not just, okay, how do I make this work in capitalism, but what is on my heart. And so yeah, getting to write that story. And then it always, you know, usually goes back to home and wanting to write a story about home. And it's always weird, like everyone has like their own perspectives on it and their own ways of getting there. And this felt like how I wanted to tell that story. So I was always curious about what was my way in. And this, the story of the Galamsey babies was like my first real like, oh, this is how I want to tell this. This is how I want to look at this. And I was like, I found it.
Can you, do you want to give us the whole summary and also like, who knows, because the play isn't written yet, but like, the like 3-sentence version of like what the idea for the play was.
Oh yeah. So this was inspired by these group of children known as the Galamsey babies, which are children born in like the early 90s that were children of Chinese miners who came to Ghana kind of like during the illegal mining season. Galamsey means to collect and sell, kind of like a rough translation. And so they came to Ghana, and while they were there, they met with the local Ghanaian women and had children, as people want to do. And but then once the country started having stricter rules, they had to leave. So they ended up leaving these women and these children. So I was really interested about these, especially living in Ghana, knowing how homogenous it can be. Like it was the first time I was like, oh, Black people are everywhere, like almost exclusively. What is this concept? And what it would mean to be a biracial child, especially if you're in the village where you have limited communication with the outside world, to live in that. And then also just dealing with these larger issues of, you know, kind of like Africa and Ghana specifically relationship with China, and how, you know, there is kind of like that dealing with neocolonialism and how that's affecting a country that still is only 58 years old, I think. Like Ghana's really, really young. So it's still trying to find its feet and become who it is, but then also still having to deal with, again, capitalism and finding their place again. So yeah, these were just things I wanted to put all into one play.
Gotta find the container for all of it. I think it's incredible too, because and you talked about this, before, but sort of how there's an idea of what an immigrant story looks like. And an immigrant story usually always means someone moving from one place towards whiteness in some way, which, you know, towards capitalism, and like, but that's like a universal thing. But it seemed like part of like the shift in this was happening was like being like, actually, no, we've been giving a whitewashed idea of what moving from one place to another looks like, and actually like there's nuances that we haven't even acknowledged yet within these terms.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was always like my definition of what immigration was. It was like, oh, you were from somewhere else, somewhere brown, and you came to America. And that is the immigrant story. So even when I kind of became an immigrant and moved to Ghana, I was like, it took me a long time to realize, oh, wait, you are also that. You have come to this place. You are different. This is your immigration and what that meant and what that looked like. Because of just how we see things and just how we're taught things in the US, it was a totally different perspective. And I was like, okay, it was, and then that was a story I wanted to see more of, and just seeing, and also just seeing more people of color, how we interact outside of, the direct white gaze. So shout out to Jennifer Barclay, Ryan Roulette, Nicole Watson, and then special shout out, Leslie Felbane, and special shout out to my grandpa. He passed away this Thanksgiving, and he was a major man of legacy. He has 11 grandchildren, and we were his pride and joy. He's like, you guys are going off to do the next great thing, and I believe in you. I'm just like, Grandpa, I'm just here. I'm just trying to get through life. But he just believed in us so incredibly, and also just loved his country so incredibly. And I'm excited to do my little part in keeping that legacy going.
Wow, that was exceptional. And it is especially great to hear the ideas shared between last year's and this year's Ollie Award winners. Now, our next Tooth of Time Award winner has had a career filled with plays driven by big ideas, but unfortunately, the brilliant OyamO isn't able to celebrate with us virtually, so we invited two of his colleagues to join us and speak on his behalf. Here, in conversation about OyamO and his impact on generations of artists, are actor and Pulitzer Prize nominated playwright Keith Glover and actor, comedian, and 3-time Tony and Grammy Award nominee David Alan Grier.
This is the thing. When did you first come in contact with OyamO and his work? Because you're both from Detroit, right?
Well, I came in contact with OyamO the first day of Yale Drama School.
Okay.
We all came in there, and OyamO was like a grown-up.
Yeah, he was.
Beard.
He is.
He had a wife. He had a townhouse in Harlem and kids, and he was real old too, 32 or something back then. I was like, man, this is like a functioning adult. And he was always, OyamO's demeanor has always been cool and calm. You want him as your hostage negotiator.
Yeah.
And he had a low, warm laugh, a chuckle. OyamO was published. You understand? He had books of his works, his plays and poetry. I was like, man, this dude, why are you here, man? You should be going out there. And we immediately became friends. He was really, really great. His artistic voice was out there, experimental, different. He wrote and created new realities. He had no problem with that. He was free.
Yeah.
And he was real cool. If you talk about, he was like a jazz musician, or what you think a jazz musician should be. He was laid back. He was smooth. I don't ever remember seeing OyamO in the midst of any situation in which he lost his cool. You know what I mean? He was always smooth, and we can work this out. It's no.
Yeah, I think the funny part for me was I first met OyamO at Princeton. Mm-hmm. We were having the TCG thing.
Yeah.
And it was me, August, Marion McClinton, right before August gave the speech that split theater in half. And I remember Marion was walking around in July with a trench coat and a briefcase, saying that he was going to be August's bodyguard. And I was like, what are you talking about? And we all went in a room and hung out for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then we walked over to the thing for August to speak, because August didn't tell us what he was going to say.
But you knew what he was going to say.
I knew, but the funny part was that bomb and Rick Kahn was sitting on stage in a throne.
Yeah.
And we were like, and OyamO was like, why is he sitting in the middle of the stage on a throne? And when August started talking, you could see Rick's get smaller.
Yeah, man.
And so I went, and so we walked out, and OyamO was in front, and this, woman came up and said, did you ever think that August felt that way? And then OyamO said, read his plays.
Of course. Of course. I mean, I would have said the same thing.
And just walked out.
It was really great. That was OyamO. He was free. He was free. No walls.
Well, because the thing is, and I always, because you touch on that, it's the main thing that you look at the generation that OyamO was with, they were bridging that gap between Africa and where we were here.
Oh yeah.
And they were the tonality of speech is and the musical notes, because it's all noise, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how we get there, because I'm influenced by him. Because
but as a young actor, like when I first read his stuff, I was like, man, why can't you write something so I can act in? I want to get that. Why did you kill Mama? Why did you kill my mama? And OyamO would just laugh, man, because he wrote like a jazz musician, like instrument plays, and he was very fluid, confident, and free. He made no apologies. I never remember OyamO going, "Oh, I don't know if this will work. Let's try it." I mean, he always said, "Let's try it," but he was real. I wrote this.
Well,
this is the way I write. You either take it or leave it.
Right.
Anytime you worked with OyamO, you knew he was coming in sideways. You knew he was going to challenge you as a viewer and as an artist, and he's not going to give you an easy entry. You had to participate, as a spectator, and that was his unique gift. He could have written a conventional theatrical piece at any point. He could have, but he just couldn't. That's not it. I just want to say, man, I'm so happy that we connected. I have such love for OyamO. And I wish we could have hooked up. I wish we could have hooked up in Ann Arbor that morning. And he had
a shout out right now, man. Because he's listening to it. He's listening to it.
OyamO! Write me something, man. What's up? If I was there, I'd give you a big hug, man. Love you. Love you so much.
Thank you so much, David and Keith, for sharing those beautiful and heartfelt memories of OyamO. Here at the Idea Awards, we're excited to celebrate artists of an enduring legacy, as well as a new generation of up-and-coming musical theater makers. Adana and Zeniba Now's out-of-the-box ideas and catchy music make us want to get on up and dance. Now, a song from their new musical, Vera and the Battle for New Soul, asks the question, if you could instantly download any skill, what would it be? What would I download? I would download the ability to speak any language on the planet. Go anywhere, order a peanut butter and jelly, anywhere. I'm moving on. Back to Vera. Here is Upgrade, followed by a discussion with 2019 Vivace Award winners Melissa Lee and Kit Yan.
What you doing with it? It's a scam. But what you doing with it? Could be one of us moving up, getting paid. Out the gutter with a major upgrade. New life, new codes, one epic download. Come on, let's play. Upgrade. What are you gonna upgrade? Upgrade. What are you gonna upgrade? Come on, play along. What are you gonna upgrade? Upgrade. What are you gonna upgrade?
Most octopi are preoccupied with scientific leaps. But picture an opera by this octopi to make the people weep. Cry, 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 tears from your eyes, eyes, cry.
Bruh. I wanna be Bruce Lee, the G-O-A-T, king of karate, nobody can stop me. Undefeated from the sewer, defender of the underground, the fixer that you call when the cloud is trying to mess around, arrest me. Talking blah, 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 well, now I hit him with Wah! Drones to the body shop, KO for the city cops, baby, this is my block, I got the karate chop. What are you gonna upgrade? What are you gonna upgrade? What are you gonna upgrade, upgrade, upgrade? What are you gonna upgrade? Trying to get whole, trying to get made, trying to get fine, trying to get paid. What you upgrade? What you upgrade? All we wanna do is shred, shred, shred. Skate all day, but we still make that bread. Laser flips for breakfast. Tony Hawk can't check this. And finally land the tandem loop of death in One Day Square. Amateurs beware.
There's only one thing I want. There's only one thing I need. My mom with me. I'll learn how to fix her. I'll learn how to stitch her glitched so back together. I won't stop until I get her. We're almost there. And this hack is the first step, I swear.
Vera? You did it.
Look, you got an upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Look, you got an upgrade.
What you doing with it?
Look, you got an upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Look, you got an upgrade.
What you doing with it?
Gonna get whole, gonna get made, gonna get fine, gonna get paid. Watch me upgrade, upgrade.
Hey, Adana and Zeniba Now, congratulations for being a recipient of the Vivace Award.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you so much. We're just so thrilled to be chatting with you today about your big ideas.
Yeah. Tell us about the big idea. Tell us about
It's
the
called
musical.
Vera and the Battle for New Seoul. And New Seoul is a hybrid city in the future, mashup of Seoul, Korea, and New York City, America. And techno capitalism flourishes, and they've developed this sort of technology wherein skills that live in your body can be transferred from one person to another. And it's become the main form of the main economic system, where the top 1% are like almost superhuman, superhero level type skills, and the bottom class, Zeniba called them the learning class the other day, are constantly relearning really, really basic skills to sell to people who can afford them.
Yeah, so like our main characters are a group of kids who live in the sewers, and there is in New Seoul like a city in the clouds that's like immaculate and super rich, and then these are these kids who live in the sewers, and they basically survive by like every day they relearn like potty training and dishwashing and just like super basic skills to sell them to middle class families so that they don't have to teach their kids to like potty train. So basically in this world, like only poor people would take the time to learn something, basically. Mm-hmm. And you can also transfer like crazy skill sets. So like a lot of skills that we would have thought of as dying off are now sort of eternal. So like you could pass along Tchaikovsky's musical skills, and that could have been bought for millions of dollars throughout the last 100 years. So like also sort of these very
or pass through families,
like other knowledges, but like there's now an extreme coveting of intellectual property, and so yeah.
So, but our show starts on the day that that evil Korean Elon Musk has decided that he has announced to the world that they are
releasing this pack of skills that they've put together, that they've manufactured, that are essentially going to wipe out everyone's way of supporting themselves.
So they found a way to now mass produce the technology so that now they could just sell for $30 potty training to everyone, and nobody would ever have to learn potty training again. But this is basically going to put out like most of the rest of the world out of work.
Wow.
This is certainly seems like a big world and a big idea to me. And
yeah,
two main things come up for me immediately in hearing about this. Like, this seems like a heightened version of reality. I mean, right? Because like the top 1% of people, whether they have the skills or not, we perceive them to have skills because we perceive rich people to be better than us in like so many different ways. And like, in terms of like working class people and the kids that live in the sewer, like I'm thinking about people in my family. I'm thinking about domestic workers. I'm thinking about restaurant workers. I'm thinking about like, you know, massage therapists, healers, like people that have like these tangible skills, but those skills live in your body. So then your body becomes like a commodity. So I think this is such a beautiful, like imagining of asking the right questions of like whose skills, whose bodies, whose brains are worth what and why.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yes. Oh my God.
Really, the first thing that comes to mind, okay, as we say them.
This is a word association game.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
Okay, let's start with Jay. What's your favorite song you ever wrote together?
This one. Sorry. We're presenting a song from Vera. And I think it's just been so much fun because there's so many parts and it's kids. So it's just way more fun than anything that we've done thus far, I think.
Okay, Kit, your turn. Next one.
Okay, I guess this one's going to Z. What are your favorite creativity enhancing methods or substances?
Methods or substances. So for me, I want to be in a high alpha brain state when I work, which means I might like to go get my brain plugged into a supercomputer where I can access my subconscious, enter an elevated state of mind, and pull ideas directly from the field rather than working hard at them.
Okay. This one is for Jay. Name a guilty pleasure.
No.
Oh my dear, I am so proud of you. Many years I have waited.
I don't want to answer the question, and I don't feel guilty about any of my.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Amazing.
Wow. That was amazing.
That was amazing.
It's like the clock brought it out of you.
Well, I don't know. Thanks so much for chatting with us today. And congratulations again. You guys are amazing. Our favorite people, our favorite writers. It's
for sure.
We're just so happy about all of this.
You absolutely deserve this.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
I can't wait to see this show.
Me
Yeah,
too.
me neither.
Any day now. Any day now.
Thank you, Kit, Melissa, Jay, and Zeniba for reminding us that even after a long, hard year, we can still have fun and laugh. I literally cannot wait to be in a theater with you guys. Who's next? Next up, we have Haruna Lee, an Obie Award-winning artist who is a recipient of this year's Ollie Award. They will be joined by writer and performer in the band A Sunny Day in Glasgow, Jen Goma. The following segment features Tooth of Time awardee, internationally recognized poet, playwright, memoirist, come on memoir, and activist Cherríe Moraga in conversation with playwright and director Laurie Woolery in a discussion about her work. Let's take a listen.
Welcome. I'm not the host of this space, but I would like to welcome you to this space.
Thank you. Hi, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Goma. You are Haruna Lee, and you are receiving an Ollie Award, and I am interviewing you for this online ceremony, so let's dish. I want to know what your process was in writing this letter that won you an award. I'd love to know how you chose the format or the medium, the content. What was in this award-winning letter?
The award-winning letter. Thank you for calling it that.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So the letter format was a really beautiful invitation, and I think where I went first was this quote that I've just been sitting with for a while now. It's a quote from Andrea Long Chu, and she is talking about desire in this interview with The Point. And she says something like there is this expectation of people who are ethical and who have high morals to also have very high moral and ethical desires. But in reality, people want bad things. All people want bad things. And for me, that was really mind-blowing because I think in thinking about my, I guess, identity and livelihood as an Asian American person, there's always been this voice that's like, you have to be good. You have to be the model minority. And so this, to want bad things feels like the biggest, most epic subversion to me in desire. And that really spoke to me. And so in this letter, I really went down that path of speaking about my own desires and how my desires in particular, how that has played out as like a radical subversion that I am embracing. And I think part of it is really believing in and telling the story of my polyamory practice and how I really do believe in the abundance of love and that we are capable of loving so many. And I think part of that too comes from like this immigrant upbringing where with my single parent, my mom who really needed me when I was growing up, when she was raising me. And there's something about that, like obviously it was a platonic relationship, but like that was my understanding of monogamy, was being needed and not having anything or anywhere else to go but that relationship. And it felt so constrained. And so as an adult, finding polyamory, exploring polyamory has felt like this huge liberating thing around my own desire. And I just think in general too, like there's this, I think people are used to telling stories about Asian bodies, especially Asian women, trans, femme, non-binary bodies, where silence and loneliness and sorrow are all sexualized in a really specific way. Like that is the story, the sexual story of an Asian women, trans, femme, non-binary body. And I'm so interested in just like tearing that apart, ripping it open, and telling this other story about our erotics, the power of our sexuality and our erotics that exists just outside of that, that very small story.
Yeah. This is how we end an interview. This is exactly how
a beautiful end.
Oh,
congratulations, my friend. This is so amazing. As I said, you deserve all the awards in the world. So I'm so happy that you are being bestowed with this award. So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's I was stunned when I got this invitation. So thank you so much, because you have been such an influence. And once I was, asked to do this, I did a little like deep dive, just going, like trying to remember. And we have so much in common, which may not be the time for us to like go through it. But I am going to probably hit upon a couple of the things, but this duality. I just want to talk to you about that journey, because you have been such an influence to so many people. And I know you don't see yourself that way, but can we talk a little bit about your journey from poet to playwright, always an activist, now writing a memoir about your mother?
Yeah, it's a long road. It's a long road.
It's a beautiful road.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think that when you were talking about La Huera, which is that first essay that I published when Gloria Anzaldúa and I edited this bridge called My Back, Writings by Radical Women of Color. And at the time in which, I was really young, I was 27 or something when I started working on that book. And I probably had published one poem in my life, but it was timely. It just was one of those books that in terms of women of color feminism, that it was time for us to speak up, and we were really blessed to have the support of like Audre Lorde and Tony Kambambara and all that to do the book. So it was pretty amazing. It was like going from like complete invisibility to suddenly a lot of visibility as a writer, and which I'm incredibly grateful for, because it taught me a lesson early on, which I had to learn later with playwriting. But that what I learned is that when you're talking about ideas, what I learned, like I wrote about being Chicana, being mixed blood, being queer, all of this, and I had never ever written it, but I had also never ever read it. I had never read the word Chicana and lesbian in the same sentence ever. And so it was like one of those pieces where I kind of vomited through the whole writing process. And like, I didn't vomit the writing. I got sick and I had to write. I got sick and I had to write. And it felt that dangerous to me. And I think the great lesson in it was that I was on a certain level rewarded for my danger, for taking the risks, which a lot of writers do take great risks, and they're not necessarily rewarded by knowing that there's people out there who need to read it and want to read it. And I was very fortunate that I discovered there was an audience for taking risks and writing what had not been written before, because I'm known as an essayist and a poet in one world, and I'm known as a playwright in another world, and those worlds never meet. And so it's sort of like, oh, what have you been doing? Well, it's like, what have you been doing? The literary world says, and the other one, so the theater says, what have you been doing? In fact, you've been doing something all along. And they have a relationship to each other, and the relationship is to write what hasn't been written. And so I feel like the energy or what I want to do now is I want to quit pretending. I mean, it's like, and I've never done that anyway. But we have history, we have culture, we have complex ideas, we have, it's like, and also we are not immigrants only. In fact, we're not immigrants at all if you think about America. Right. So we have many, many stories to tell, and the popular culture is such that they only give us a couple,
And my friend, you have always been ahead of your time, and your time, we're catching up to you now. And so I cannot wait to see. The time is right now. So this award honors you the way you should be awarded. And I just have to say that I cannot wait for this next chapter of yours, because it is thrilling. And my friend, bravo. Congratulations.
Thank you, Laurie. No, you're good.
Well, it has been an honor and a privilege to celebrate all of the big ideas of all of our winners tonight. And our last conversation is no exception. Troy Anthony is a songwriter, theater maker, and activist whose work centers queer Black joy. We will close our ceremony with his song, Celebrate You. But before we go, He will be in conversation with the artistic director of Musical Theater Factory, Mei Ann Teo, about what drives his remarkable writing process.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to talk about this musical that has received the Vivace Award, right? Like,
yes!
And this musical, like, I love that you just said, I write songs as liberatory practice. Like, I also feel like you like hold choirs as liberatory practice. I feel like you show up in the world, you hold the MTF Salon as liberatory practice. Like everything you do feels like liberatory practice to me in the way you hold spaces. And I'm excited about like what like tell us about this musical. Tell us about this musical, where it comes from and how it operates as all the things that you do in the world as an artist.
You know, what's so funny about this musical is that it started with like, are you ever like, sometimes I'm sitting around and I'm just like, wait, whatever happened to that? You know, I used to go to skating parties at roller skating rinks all the time as a kid, right? We would have like Wednesday night, it's a skating party, and we would drink Surge because that was the new soft drink at the time. And I also remember that I did not know how to skate. And so my grandmother signed me up for skating lessons actually at a roller skating rink called Champs, which is where I came up with that name. And we would like, she made sure that I knew how to skate so that I could like be okay at these parties. And then my mom, I remember her always talking about, okay, like she used to go to the skating rink all the time after school, just like taking the bus like from school straight to the skating rink, sometimes by herself, and she would meet up with friends there, and it was a big social gathering. And I was like, where did that go? Like, what happened to that? I was like, no, who goes to skating rinks anymore? They're dying. Why? And so I started like looking up things on YouTube about skating. I came across this documentary that was about how roller skating was taken away because it was just a big old gathering of Black people. And in the 90s, with the Rodney King riots, with the kind of gathering and protesting that was happening when Rodney King's assaulters, the cops, were found not guilty, and people rose up. And as a result of that, police officers were just breaking up any large gatherings of Black people. And it was like, what does it mean when you can't gather with your community anymore? Like, so I was asking those types of questions, and out of that came this musical about this queer boy who works at a roller skating rink, but can't skate, and all of a sudden has to fill a position on the roller skating dance team that he reveres, where his crush is the captain, and they're called the Pretty Boys. And so he has to work with his crush and like learn how to skate and get this huge like roller skating routine down to make sure that his team is good. And then a bomb drops on the community when they're told they can't gather there anymore. And so all of a sudden, people that are enemies are coming together to be like, we have to save our community that we love. And then I also was like, well, I need his dad to be a cop so that we can have that conversation. I need to see a Black family deal with an issue together. You know, I need to see all those things. So that's where it came from.
That's so exciting to me. What's the music like?
The music is rooted in good. I made a playlist actually to like inspire myself for this musical, and it's all like 80s and 70s like soul music. And like, if you couldn't skate to it, if you've ever skated to it, it's probably that's probably my playlist. Like, it's probably gonna be all of that. And then also like the rise of gangster rap came at that time. So I'm like, well, that's an opposing force that we need to like talk about. So maybe I'm gonna write some gangster rap, you know? You never know. You never know.
What's the name of this musical?
It's called Champs.
Champs. I cannot wait for every single part of the process of Champs happening, Troy. So amazing. Is there anything else that you want us to know about Champs, or what you are wanting for the world right now?
I just am excited about all of the Black artists who are writing Black stories for Black people.
Me too. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Mei Ann. I love you so much. Thank you for this. I feel like I learned something about myself every time I talk to you. Thank you.
Hey, yeah. I need you to celebrate with us. Feel like you wanna cry. Seems no one has the right words to say. Lost the courage to try. Wish all your problems would melt away. You'll move through the pain. This trial comes to make you strong. Hold your head up high, it won't be long. It's time to celebrate you. Trust in your inner light. Know that you'll be alright. Find joy in your darkest night. It's time to celebrate you. Dance and rejoice, make room. Victory's coming soon. Let light enter through your wound. It's time to celebrate you. Come on, clap your hands, y'all. Hey! Oh! Hey, dance with us. Hey! Sing, y'all. People push you aside. And your life fell apart at the seams. Don't you run and hide. Run forward. Hey. Don't lose sight of your dreams. Leave those chains behind. Your truth will set you free. It's time to celebrate you. Trust in your inner light. Know that you'll be alright. Find joy in your darkest night. It's time to celebrate you. Dance and rejoice, make room. Know that victory's coming soon. Let light enter through your wound. It's time to celebrate. When you're all alone, celebrate. No one's around, celebrate. True happiness can be found. Celebrate. It's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. Ooh, celebrate. You celebrate. In the darkest hour of your darkest. Trust and know you'll be alright. It's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. Ooh, celebrate. You celebrate. No matter what you've been through, let this song encourage you. It's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. Oh, celebrate. You celebrate. Celebrate. Oh, celebrate. You'll find joy. You'll find joy. Celebrate. It's time to celebrate you. Trust in your inner light. Know you're gonna be. Know that you'll be alright. Find joy in your darkest night. Oh, it's time to celebrate you. Just dance and rejoice. Make room. Oh, victory's coming soon. Let light enter through your wound. It's time to celebrate you. Thank you all so much.
It's time to celebrate you. That's what I'm talking about. That's it. It's time to celebrate you. That's it. There's nothing else to say. That's how you end the night. Get to the thank yous. Thank you to all of our board of advisors for all of the thought, time, and care they continue to give the Brett and Paul Foundation. Thank you, everyone, for celebrating these wonderful artists with us tonight. We hope you've been moved by the big ideas put forth by these artists and that they spark conversations you wouldn't otherwise have. A huge congratulations again to all of this year's winners. And if you're interested in learning more, you can find bios and more information about each winner on our website. Thank y'all again. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we hope to see you all in person next year. Good night.